YouTubers, you know what time it is. It's 9 p.m. Tijuana time. And it's time for a really very special, important trends in the housing market. It is Mike Martins. Let me adjust my hat here to get it into proper perspective. Yes, the housing market is out of control. People don't know if they're tricking or treating when it comes to housing. And on today's show, we're gonna get to it. I'm gonna forecast a few things, what I think is gonna happen, a few predictions I'm gonna make here on the show. And it's October 19th. Holy smokes! Can anyone believe where this year is gone? I'm just looking back and forth. It's like the year is like, I gotta take a second look at the year. The year is flying. It's October 19th, 2017. And once again, I'm broadcasting from Merritt, British Columbia, the headquarters here. And I got my friend Mia here, who's finally caught the show live. And people, don't forget to join in to the discussion chat that we got going on here on the right side. Let's keep it PG, people, because last Wednesday it was getting pretty. It was getting pretty ruthless. And you know what the funny problem is? It's showing I have right now one person watching, right? And I was getting a whole bunch of comments. Like every minute I'd get like 18 comments, 16 comments, but there was like 2 people watching. But it was multiple people commenting. So, yeah. So we're here live every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Tijuana time. And like I said again, broadcasting from Merritt, British Columbia. And how's the weather here? And it's just a huge downpour. We've been having some severe tropical depression winds up to 70, 80 kilometers an hour. A couple of broken trees and branches, but it's going to be good. Anyways, let's kick off trends in the housing market for October 19th, 2017. I got a lot of questions mailed into me and sent to me on Instagram. If you want to follow me on Instagram, go up to the top of my page. You'll see a link. Go ahead. And you know, it is what it is, and it's the amount of screenshots I'm being bombarded with too. I don't know if you guys saw that video I did. Someone's commenting about the video I did. Motivated seller. If you go on Craigslist, Craigslist Auckland, Craigslist Sydney, Craigslist Vancouver, Craigslist Seattle, motivated seller selling a 1,200 square foot home, 2 bathroom, 1 bath, $2.8 million. It's like motivated seller. So everyone's been sending me screenshots of that on my Instagram, and I find it a little funny that, you know, I'm getting those kind of jokes, because it's kind of funny in a way, but it's sad how people have lost, how far people have lost it. Anyways, let's continue. I got some stories here that was sent to me. I got this first story I want to kick off for today's show. It's kind of important because it was sent to me from a gentleman named Shane. He's from Edmonton, and he basically says that he watches my videos at the public library and wanted to send me this link. So what's happening with Shane is that he's actually homeless, and he's living here, River Valley homeless, and he's been living here for a good long while. And he found my channel by chance, and he's been watching it ever since at the public library. So this is the article he sent. So let's read it. Let's give it a look here. Living Rough, a glimpse into Edmonton's River Valley homeless. So I'm gonna leave the video for you guys to watch if you want to see. It's pretty bad. Close to 2,000 homeless people. It's almost like it's huge. Close to 2,000 homeless people live rough in Edmonton's River Valley, braving the elements through all seasons while groups are trying to help. It takes time, Kendra Solowski says. Now, here's the problem. A lot of people don't know, from people from different parts of the world that are watching the show, Edmonton's very cold. It gets to like minus 30 centigrade, minus 40 centigrade. Put it this way, gasoline I think, freezes at minus 40. That's how cold it gets there. If gasoline could freeze, that's how cold it gets there. And these people are living rough. With winter weather on Edmonton's doorstep, some of the city's homeless are desperate to find housing, not wanting to spend another winter on the streets. Oh, it's got to be just horrible. I spent last winter downtown, and then we got kicked out of a tent. How can you spend winter in a tent and then kick? Okay. And from there, I went to that side of the river for the rest of the year, said Shane, who asked his last name not be published. And Shane has spent the past couple of months living in camps in Edmonton's River Valley. He lived with a friend for a bit in the spring, but said it didn't work out. After spending the winter in the elements, he hopes he could find shelter soon. We stayed in a tent. It was minus 25, the three of us, he said. I don't want to spend another winter outside. No, my feet, my back, it'll kill me. Shane was in the process of moving out of the encampment in the River Valley on Wednesday. He said park rangers came by a few days ago, asked them to collect their items and move along. The problem is he doesn't have anywhere to go. That's got to be devastating, man. It really has to be devastating that, like, people have nowhere to go. It must be hard, like, when you got nowhere to turn to. You know, maybe couch surfing here and there. But when you got nowhere to go and nature's against you, I mean, we're not talking subtropic temperatures you can sleep on the beach. We're talking about minus 30, minus 40 temperatures. If they kick us out of here, we move to another spot, he said. We can fly under the radar for another month until they catch us and we move again. So far this year, the city of Edmonton has dismantled 1,690 homeless camps. Wow. Okay, so the city of Edmonton has dismantled 1,690 homeless camps, not 1,690 homeless tents. Camps. So encampments. This is huge. The city said it only comes in to clean up once camps have been vacated. We find a fair bit of litter and other debris, furniture on occasion. We do find needles, said Travis Kennedy, management supervisor of park operation with City Council Edmonton. So this is horrible. While it is illegal to camp in the River Valley and public parks, the city said it is not in the business of handing out tickets. Oh, that's so nice of them. Oh, that's so sweet. But what about these 2,000 people? This is... You think it's not going to get any bigger? And what did they think? The local people or the people around town are going to find out? Almost never is a fine issued, Kennedy said. Oh, that's so nice. Yeah. If we could find illegal activity occurring, then we would pursue that differently. But it's simply a camper looking for shelter in the valley. We're not looking to charge those folks. We work with groups to find camper solutions, but at a certain point, we need to clean the river valley and protect it from any potential hazards. So there's another article here. Update plan sets sights on ending chronic homelessness in Edmonton by 2022. Why am I reading this in Trends in the Housing Market? Because this is what happens when the Albertan proper or Canadian proper or people can't find a place to live. What happens? Do you think people want to live on the streets at minus 30, 40 centigrade? I don't think so. I wouldn't want to be outside for 10 minutes. I really feel for these people. And that's why I want to share this story with you guys. Doug Cook has worked with the street outreach for more than 2 years and said that they've come across hundreds of people living rough. This year, which means they're living outside under tarps or tents, finding suitable housing for people takes time, though, Cook said. There are still people living rough outside throughout the winter, and an important part of our job is to make sure they're taken care of. If they're wanting to get out of the river valley, then we will do what we can to assist them, he said. Unfortunately, a week or two isn't a lot of time to get somebody from their tent to an accommodation. Look at this, people. But you know, it's good. I'm gonna be really frank with you guys. I don't think finding housing for people will solve the problem. I think it's finding jobs for people who are willing and able to work, and then turn around, start renting a place, and then, like, you see what I'm saying? Setting up a shelter where they got 3 months to find a job, you know, and the people, someone's commenting here, many have mental issues and not a lot of money since the 1990s, cutbacks in all of the Canada's HC system, and will continue aging population. But here's the problem. There is mental illness, but start treating people with mental illness to put them properly back into society. Teach people a routine, and then get them back, and not forcing people to become something they don't want to, but forcing people to live a normal, healthy, fruitful life. A lot of these people don't want to live like it. A lot of these people just can't find jobs, and that's the problem with the oil and crashing. Look at this, people. Oof. Yeah, at least there's a barbecue there with a couple of bottles of tanks. Yeah, this is out of control, people. So I wanted to share that for the person that sent me that link, and I'm just reading some questions here that were sent to me. Now, this one was sent to me from Chelsea W. And she told me that it's now illegal to be homeless now. Now, what? Please read this on your show. Thank you. So this is from Chelsea. She's writing this, sending me this article. It's from a few days back. It says, this is from Albuquerque, KRQE. And city cracks down on illegal homeless camps. So this is hitting this New Mexico now. Albuquerque, New Mexico. A homeless camp popped up near a middle school, community center, and police substation. Parents are just finding out about it, are concerned. For a while now, the city said it had been keeping a close eye on this park following reports of drug use and people camping out there. Monday morning, Albuquerque police and the park woke up to a few of those homeless campers. Despite park rules, right behind a van of Buren Middle School, a community center, and the police substation, a homeless camp popped up at Phil Cochran Park near Louisiana Boulevard. I don't think this park is safe anymore, Carol Medine says nearby. Well, what's happening? People are being pushed into leaving and living in parks. So this is what they say there. There are needles everywhere. Of course there's going to be drug abuse. You know, it usually follows with depression and stuff. The other day, he actually asked me what they were. Madalena, so the child's asking what those needles were. You know what I'm saying? They will ask us if we want to buy drugs, and said it'll be like $5 a pop. The city says that overnight shelters are open, especially now that the weather is getting colder, but illegal homeless camps seem to be popping up more. KRQE News 13 asked APD for the details about the police scene at the park Monday morning, but they were not able to comment. So what's happened here is that they're making it illegal to be homeless. They're trying to make it's illegal to be homeless in some states, and it's becoming a major problem, because if people don't have anywhere to go, like that last article I read about that gentleman, I feel bad for him. The police ask him to move on and move somewhere else, but he has nowhere to go. This is really bad, and this is tied to housing. Unaffordable housing is plaguing all the English or Commonwealth countries, whatever you want to call it. They are basically being plagued because they set up a free market system, allowing people to come in and invest, but instead of investing in the markets and investing in other things, they're investing in housing, and that's making it really, 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 really bad. And then someone just commented to me, they said the stock market is bubbly. All right, the future of Canadian real estate prices part 2, modeling. So I read part 1 of my show, I think it was a week ago. If Canadian real estate prices won't wait for incomes, what happens next? So I made a video actually this morning on my housing crisis segment. If incomes are I mean, people need to get like a 400% increase in pay to be able just to make ends meet. And I'm talking about just paying rent. What happens next? Last week, the Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation asked me to speak at their housing finance synopsis. If you haven't read the part 1 of the notes, it's worth checking out for a little context. If you have today, well, be building those notes. We've determined home prices won't wait for incomes to rise. So how do we determine what they'll do? While we can't say with 100% accuracy, we can process a metric F ton of data and came up with some pretty good assumptions. We can then backtest those models and see how they work. So then what they want to do is they want to put a system out there to take all this information that they've been gathering and put it into some sort of a system, see what the end result is, reverse it, bring it back again, and see if there's a way in between they could fix this problem. I don't think, you see, okay, last week we discussed how unlikely it is for Canadian home prices to stay flat until income catches up. That's not going to happen, people. Ironically, the day before the big bank economists gave that exact unrealistic forecast, forecasting isn't the exact science. And do you remember why I keep telling you guys forecasting, people asking me what my predictions are and stuff like that? You can't, because you don't know all the underlying things that are happening in the equation. If I'm missing half the equation, I can't give you an answer. So it's really hard to predict anything, because I know I said in the summer there was going to be a crash this summer that passed. I was wrong, okay? Why was I wrong? Because there's too many things underlying that are happening that I can't control or don't know what's happening, that I can't add to the equation to give you a proper answer. I don't know. I hope this, you guys can understand that, because I have somebody here, Stephen G. from Utah, is messaging asking when will prices correct, or will there be a crash? And if so, should I buy in now? If you can't afford to buy, don't buy nothing. And when you do calculate your TDS online, your total debt service ratio and stuff, and you want to look at roughly if you could afford your payments, make sure you add $400 a month in food and miscellaneous. Nobody ever adds food because they feel that people could go without eating their lifetimes. No, you need to eat, and it costs on average, depending on the person, anywhere from $200 to $400 a month for food. Okay? And not if you're living in Mexico, it costs maybe $80 a month for food, but it would cost you roughly $200 a month for food. And it's crucial that people understand when calculating housing prices, oh, that's exactly what we make. Oh, we can make it work. No, because you're going to be buying food on credit cards. Once you start buying food on credit cards, you're in trouble. And let's go. Real estate is not like the stock market if you don't understand stocks. And I keep bringing up as the stock market every time we discuss this. We'll get the model the second. Here we go. Let's go. Schiller price to earnings ratio, S&P 500. Here's the dot-com bubble. There's the Black Tuesday. These are all the different, this is 1933. Yesterday. So this is the different inflation adjustments. And it's actually a really good graph that actually shows you here. Price to earnings ratio. Measuring a buyer expectation is exactly what anyone that wants to build a robo trader should do. It's hard to predict a company's future revenue, but it's easy to determine when buyers will think something is overvalued. Okay, so why would somebody pay, again, for a 1982 Volkswagen Scirocco Lamborghini price? You got a 1982 Volkswagen Scirocco Lamborghini price, and that's what they're trying to say here. It's hard to determine with stocks. All you need is a little artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data, and tens of thousands of dollars in servers. Probably a good time to thank Microsoft for the server time they give us. Thanks. So it's a really good, and it goes through the Toronto real estate from 1976 to 1989. Projections. It's a long article, guys. I really recommend you read the first and second part if you haven't read it. And then there's a credit exhaustion index from 1976 to 1993. And fast forward to today, this is the part I want to get to. Take your scrunchies out and mute the Milli Vanilli. We're fast forwarding to today. Quite a few people have been saying Toronto real estate has been overpriced for the past decade. That's not what we see here. Actually, there was some prime buying opportunities in the 2000s, according to this model. It's not until 2015 we break out of range. From there, we could actually drop right down to today, where we're nearly at the point we were in 1989. Now, this doesn't mean that people can't afford Toronto real estate anymore. There's tons of numbers that say otherwise, and the heck of a lot more people can support higher prices. However, this is the point where prices detach from lending conditions dramatically. This historically sparked people to question whether the risk to reward opportunity exists. Very important, the risk to opportunity reward. It goes back into the 70s to now, and where things are headed into the 2020s. But I really, it's a long article, guys. It's very long. It is pages and pages long. I can't spend an hour reading this one article. If you haven't, it's the future of Canadian real estate. So what they're trying to say, I'll give you an example with a Nintendo game. When I would, in 1986, 87, I would go out and buy a Nintendo game. I would beg my mom and say, Mom, I really want to buy this Nintendo game. But back in 1987, 1986, I think I bought, it was Bobble Bobble or something, Double Dragon for Nintendo, and it cost me $40 in 1987. And this is what they're trying to say here. 1987, that Nintendo game was $40. Now, a Nintendo game brand new is about $50. It only increased about $10 in value. But why? Because things are being made cheaper and stuff like that. But what I'm trying to say is, they're trying to say that with housing. But if in 1974 housing was this much, and then this much is basically, okay, someone's saying now games are average above $80. Okay, that's fine. If 1987 was $40 a game, the buying power of $40 in 1987 is probably like $230 today. What we have today is $230. What could buy you in buying power for $40 in 19? Because you go grocery shopping for $40 in 1987, you buy a lot of groceries, and those groceries today would probably cost you $220. That's what I'm trying to get at, trying to show you how the buying power works from back in the day, where a car would cost you $2,000 in the 1950s. Where the same car today, that's what they're trying to say with the housing. So basically, yes, people should have money to spare. I don't think so. I want to know what you guys think on this future Canadian real estate prices model 2. Read model 1 if you haven't read it, because that's what they're getting to. Even though, so basically, a Nintendo game today from 1984's pricing should be around $150 to $200 today if I paid $40 in 1987. I don't know if that makes sense, but think it over what I'm trying to say, because buying power is, yeah, very different now. Let's move on. It's official. Canadian real estate buyers to face OFSI tighter mortgage regulations. Yes, I read this on my housing crisis video segment. And one thing I mentioned, and I don't understand this, is why weren't these regulations put in 10 years ago? Why weren't these regulations put in to protect people? Why wouldn't they want to make sure that the product the customer is buying can reflect and he could make the payments and live a happy life and move on in life? Why is this happening? Why are they putting, it's like putting an alarm in your car after your car gets robbed. My car got stolen, so I'm going to get it back from the police when they recover it, and then I'm going to put an alarm in it. That's like robbing Peter to pay Paul back. It doesn't make any sense. So now they're saying, yeah, we're going to put tighter mortgage regulations on. You got to be kidding me. So like it's like they're fixing the problem after it's occurred. Can someone educate me? Because I don't know anything, and maybe somebody could tell me why this is happening. Sorry. I want to send a shout out to people listening to this on podcast. I don't know who's been doing it, but they've been putting this on podcasts, and people have been listening to this. I want to thank all the different syndicates that are picking up parts of my show. There's a couple of talk radios down in Australia and one in New Zealand that's actually picking up parts of my show and saying, listen to this, listen to what he has. He's got a good point here. And they play my clip. I'm like so excited. I'm like, whoa, man. Coming from a guy, you know. Anyways. So these are the B20 guidelines. It's going to be in effect of January 1st, 2018. Higher minimum qualifying rate. So they added another 2% on top so that a sweet 5-year 2.89 that you found will be treated like a 4.89. So what they're doing is they're setting up your TDS as if you are borrowing 5%. And this is what a lot of economists are forecasting. I've been forecasting a 5%. Rates are going to go up to 5.5% because like I've been saying since day one, a normal housing market, in a normal universe, is 5%. Your house is $100,000, you're paying $4,500 a year in finance costs. Your house is $200,000, you're paying $9,000 a year in finance costs. Your house is $300,000, which it should be around, you're paying about $1,350 a year in finance costs. That's what it's supposed to cost. Because then you got property tax, you got bonus tax, you got my grandma tax, you got, oh, you forgot to breathe tax, and, you know. And that's what Mia's commenting here. Interest rates were too low. Yeah, it was a party. It was a huge party. And it was free money. And it brought a lot of investors in. Market went crazy. People borrowed above their means, got comfortable with low rates, and that's why this is needed. But Mia, I've been saying this. This should have been done 10 years ago. See, when I bought this house, the house I'm in now, watch my Living the Dream series. I bought a house free and clear. But you know what? Because if something happens to me, at least I don't have to worry about making a payment. At least my kids have a place to live, right? And that was very concerning for me. I want to make sure that a lot of things are put in place so my family is taken care of. You know what I'm saying? But now they're fixing this after it's been broke. And that's what's upsetting me. And then you got the underwriters who are to blame. A lot of underwriters passing a lot of garbage deals. Because a good underwriter will look at a deal when it gets sent up and gets sent up to the underwriters, and they approve these bullcrap loans. I could look at a loan, I could look at a credit score, I could look at the beacon score, I could look at the gaps on file, I could look at all the, what do you call it when people have inquiries? I could see if they're credit seeking. I could look at just on the credit score, I could tell a story of a person. And then taking the underwriting notes and finding out why is he borrowing, what is this, and finding out, and this could tell you a story whether or not the deal is no good. I've seen underwriters approve loans. They would look at it that was a piece of junk, and they would say 6 months this guy's going to default. So why are you approving the deal if he's going to default in 6 months? This is what I'm not understanding. And it comes from a guy that knows nothing. The guy that has no education. It comes from a guy, and this is what I'm not getting. How? And the underwriters are to blame. The lenders are to blame for putting people into these positions with zero interest rates. What do you think is going to happen? It's going to stay at zero forever? LTV, loan-to-value limits. So they're going to fix that too. Restrictions on non-conventional lending agreements. So, I don't know, guys. This is something that should have been put in place from the start. I think I know why they didn't put this in place in the start. I think they did not put this in place from the beginning was because the local Canadian or Canadian part, whatever you want to call them, wouldn't be able to afford to buy in the market if interest rates stayed at 4.5 and 5%. They wouldn't be able to afford to buy into the market. And then what would happen is you get a rush of investors come in, and then you get the Canadian proper not being able to get into the whole thing. You get what I'm saying? And when I'm saying Canadian proper, I mean everyone from all over the world that's made Canada, built Canada, that sent their kids to soccer matches, go to church or whatever they do on Sundays, barbecues, pay taxes, building infrastructure. I'm talking about the Canadians that have come from everywhere to make this country the best, one of the best countries in the world. And we're losing our grip. You know what I'm saying? So let's see what happens with this. I think this is very good, but it's something that they should have done from before. And they're making it seem like, yeah, we're going to protect, we're going to do this, we're going to... Okay, so tell me about the, I don't know, what the couple of million people that are in over their heads right now. You know, I'm being very modest saying just a couple of million. What's happening with those people? What are going to happen? Are you going to retract what they did? And, you know, a lot of people living off the coattails of their, you know, a lot of people thinking that they took their second mortgages out thinking I'm riding off the coattails of my equity for the last, 10 years in Australia. People have been having $200 to $300 a day increases on their homes in Australia. Same thing in New Zealand. Same thing in Vancouver. Anywhere from $80 to $100 a day increase. And they're living off that equity. And it's been like an ATM machine for them. And now they're realizing, wait a minute, we can't buy food anymore. Our house isn't going up in value. And I read an article last week where one guy had 8 liens or 8 mortgages on his house. I'm moving on. So Vancouver thinks it's got this problem solved. Now listen to this. Vancouver's like, I could see Sydney doing this. I could see Auckland doing this. I could see London doing this. I could see Germany doing this. I could see a lot of places doing this. And I'll show you here. Vancouver City Council to vote on locals first condo pre-sale policy. Okay. So what Vancouver's trying to say now, let the locals have a chance to buy first. Then if they buy and then whatever, then we could let in local foreign investors come in and buy, right? Very simple, right? So I think that sounds nice. It's protecting the interests of the local Canadians and people that, you know, work hard and stuff and need a place to live. People are taking housing and using it as a commodity and not an asset anymore, which gain value. But no, they're taking it as a commodity, just like anything in the stock market. And that's not good. So this is it. They're voting on Tuesday, initiative that will set the stage for locals first policy regarding pre-sale condos. So they're giving 30 days for Vancouver residents and the next 60 days. So for people to give a chance for locals to buy. I think what happens is a lot of these articles, a lot of these places, see, developer denies connection to overseas presale. So they're advertising in other countries like in China and stuff. And what's happening is I think it was that big meeting they had in Shanghai where they were selling pre-sold condos and boasting and bragging that the Canadians themselves can't afford to buy their own property. You know what I'm saying? But it's crazy. So it's out of control what's happening, and a lot of people logging into the chat. Things are starting to get heated up here. I want to thank everyone for joining me live. Okay, so I got somebody commenting here. A lot of people commenting. This one is from Kozakan Gaming. A friend in Toronto real estate was telling me that even giving locals the right to bid first doesn't matter. Tons of foreign investors are using a very low percentage local owner to do the buying to get around. Yeah, I heard that. A lot of people. Yeah, and then Mia's commenting in. I like this locals idea first. It works. Developers aren't corrupt and won't sell off to other countries. But here's the problem. So can I tell you what my conclusion was to this? Locals first, blah, blah, blah. I made a video about it today in my housing crisis. The local or the Vancouver proper or the Canadian proper just can't afford to buy into the market, period. Even if they're given 90 days or 60 days to not... They're giving, okay, you got 60 days to before it goes overseas. I don't know a lot of people that have like $3 million to buy a 2-bedroom house, 1,500 square feet. I don't know a lot of people. Like, I don't know a lot of, I know people that could buy it, but I don't know a lot of people that are dumb enough to buy something like that. That's the key. Like a lot of people, oh, poor boy needs to move to Merritt. When I was making my, oh, poor boy bought a house in Merritt. No, it's not that I don't want to spend $1.2 million in a house. Not that I can't. I'm not dumb enough to dump $1.2 million in a teardown. It's a big difference. Huge difference. Because not wanting to do something doesn't mean you can't do something. So a lot of people need to understand that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, the locals first. They should have done this 10 years ago. This would have alleviated a lot of the bidding wars that went on. And the bidding wars were out of control. The bidding wars, you'd have people on cell phones, live chat. Okay, bid more. Yeah, okay, bid more, bid more. You know what I'm saying? And this is the problem. The Canadian proper can't buy into this market. You know what I'm saying? Vancouver developers want more townhomes. Critics say they'll just be sold overseas. If the Canadian proper can buy in their own, we're bought out. Hasta la vista, hasta luego, hasta mañana, hasta luego. I mean, the people that could, like I said, buy in. Why would they? $2 million for a teardown? You could buy a nice secluded mansion in Costa Rica for like 270 grand with a nice pool. Why? Anyways, so I'm gonna go ahead to the next story. So it's good that they're giving us a see. Okay, here we go. This is the article I read last month to you guys. This is it right here. Okay, they're mentioning it here in the article. Developer Omni looked to heat over an ad targeting Hong Kong buyers, pledging a special discount, which is cheaper than buying in Canada for 2 Metro Vancouver properties. So basically, people get better deals overseas to buy than if you're in Canada. So it's depressing, man. So this is a pretty interesting article because on the 25th, I'll read a bit of it for you guys. How rising interest rates are squeezing homeowners. So the people that are suffering the most it's going to be the Canadian proper middle class. They're the ones that are the ones paying the taxes. They're paying into the system. They're the ones that are really, really, really bothered. They're going to be really bothered by this. A lot of us with vulnerable rate mortgages are on pins and needles because we're like, are we going to get hit again? Corcanron, 38, signed the mortgage for his 2-bedroom condo in Sittsville back in June. 2 weeks later, on July 12th, the Bank of Canada announced a rate increase of 0.25%. The first increase was in 7 years. It was followed by a second 2.25% in September. Now, a lot of people are probably wondering, why would they do so many rent increases right now, back to back? Well, it's because it's very important they understand this. Donald Trump, I think, has already had 6 or 7 rate increases since he's been into office. And this is perfect for the economy because if something goes wrong, they just blame Donald Trump for everything. They just blame Donald Trump. So they're testing this, and it's kind of working in the U.S., and it's stimulating the economy, and things look like they're going a bit up in the U.S. The stock markets are rallying, bubbly. Things are up and down. So very volatile markets out there. So just be careful when investing in stocks, guys. It's up and down. It's a nonstop roller coaster. And someone's commenting here. Mia saying, I read the CBC article. The lady from Hong Kong, I believe she used her flight attendant Canadian boyfriend to put a Vancouver mansion in his name. Now yeah, I read that article. So basically they broke up and now she wants the house back and him out. Yeah, that was an article I read about a month and a half ago or a while back on my show, on my regular daily videos I put up. And so let's continue here. As someone with a variable rate mortgage, remember I tell you guys every Wednesday, if you have a variable rate mortgage, call your bank, discuss terms, get a closed-end mortgage, at least a 5-year term with a 25-year amortization, like a 5-year term with a 25 or a 30-year amortization to kind of protect you for 5 years. And I've been saying this, and you could look back at some of the videos I made, and please look at some of the videos I made back in the day, and you can see exactly what I'm saying here is coming to light. As someone of variable rate mortgage, Conco said that the small rate hikes have a sizable income. He estimates they'll cost him about an extra $65 per month. That's just on 0.25. Well, it's the cost he says he can absorb as a new homeowner. Cor Canron only has a few $100s a month of disposable income. Do you know what that means, people? Food money. Yeah. That's not vacations. That's not fix the Corvette for the summer. That's food. It's also meant he's had to put on hold his plan to enroll his employer's matching RRSP program until next year. So it's really, really, really going to start pinching people, and it's really hard. I feel it's gonna impact a lot of people's lives. I hope people are prepared. I hope people didn't overspend. I hope this guy got bought for a good price. So if the rate does go to 5%, his monthly payment will go up probably $230 a month. He could probably still hold it. But I just wish everyone luck. I really do. You know. Okay. I had to do this for Toronto because this has been sent to me like 3 times. Lots of comments coming in on the chat side here. I'm going to put a live phone discussion thingy. So if you guys know any good platforms besides Skype that I could use so people could call in, I don't know, something, let me know, comment below if you know a good platform. Send me a link to a good platform you guys would know that I could use so people could call in to the show live and talk. And there's no way of me screening the calls, so if people call in swearing and stuff, I suggest if people want to do that, I suggest they go out and ring neighbors' doorbells and run away and watch from the corner and see when they open the door. I think that's a good thing to do, but then calling into the show swearing. But anyways, Google announces it will build Toronto's neighborhood of the future. So I got 2 tie-in articles for you guys tonight. This is a good show. You're tuning into a great trends in the housing market. Okay, so... Okay, I doubt foreigners get much discounts. They just don't get into the pricing wars and hassles, etc. They can sell a whole building in a couple of days in Hong Kong and quickly. Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, so someone's giving me already advice on what to use for voice chat so we can get people on the show to call in. I got people from Chicago wanting to call in. I got people from Alaska that wants to call into the show. So anyways, Google announces. So let's look at this future. They got a little drawing of what the tech park of the future. Self-driving cars. You know, I think it's a good idea in a way. It creates jobs. But there's a small side effect to it, and we're going to look in the next article that I'll tie into you guys. Google's parent company Alphabet is officially building a futuristic mini-city along 12-acre section of Toronto's western waterfront. This is absolutely huge for the city, for the country, and for the California-based tech giant in its quest to develop high-tech smart cities around the world. As expected, Alphabet is also known as Google on the NYSE. Sidewalk Labs has partnered with the Waterfront Toronto Development Waterfront community called Quayside. This will mark the biggest project tackled by Sidewalk Labs to date, according to Routers, and citizens of Toronto are here for it. Sidewalk Labs describes itself as a company that imagines, designs, tests, and builds urban innovations to help cities meet their biggest challenges. Today, no single city stands as a model for our urban future, reads the Alphabet Division's website. Yet, our cities rest on the way potential solutions to big urban challenges fit together. So, we're pursuing a large-scale district that can serve as a living laboratory. Yeah, that's laboratory. No, laboratory for urban technology. Tested for coordinated solutions, a foundation for people to build on, and a vision for other cities to follow. The more then $1 billion development will see the creation of a new public spaces, residential and commercial buildings, and advanced infrastructure for Toronto's thriving tech industry. The district will become a place for tens of thousands of people to live, work, learn, play, reads press release. Announcing the project in Toronto, it will also reflect the cultural diversity and the openness of Toronto and help connect Torontonians to the waterfront, beaches, parks, and communities. So that's the area they're going to develop. So it's almost done. I'll read the whole thing. We're working together with local community. Sidewalk Toronto aspires to create a place that encourages innovation around energy waste and other environmental challenges to protect the planet. It continues, a place that is enhanced by digital technology and data without giving up the privacy of security that everyone deserves. According to the Wall Street Journal, which was first to report on the rumored closure of this deal earlier in October, the smart city will span 3 million square feet in total, roughly the size of the Empire State Building. So it's a big deal, people, that's coming together. Wow. So that's a lot of park, a lot of jobs. So now let's look at the flip side of the coin. So people are saying it's a gated community within the core. So let's move in. Now, let's look at what happened in Seattle. This article's from today. Amazon has brought benefits and disruption to Seattle. Since opening its headquarters in Seattle in 2010, Amazon brought more than $38 billion in investment throughout job creation, infrastructure investment, and philanthropic efforts. Cities across the U.S. and Canada are vying to land the next headquarters for the HQ2 and economic boost that comes with it. Amazon's explosive growth has exacerbated income inequality, housing prices, and traffic factors cities might consider when applying for the HQ2. So this is Seattle. For years, much of downtown Seattle has been a maze of broken streets and caution-taped sidewalks, dozens of enormous cranes, towers above, and double-length dump trucks hauling excavation dirt rumble past pedestrians and bicyclists. The crashing and clanging of construction is the city soundtrack of perpetual loop. Housing prices have soared faster than anywhere else in America, driving some low and even middle-income residents beyond city limits. Traffic is frequently unmentionable, and while Amazon is far from solely to blame, while lawmakers and economists and many residents say the benefits clearly outweighing the drawbacks, life in its hometown is indeed more endeavor the tech giant has disturbed. Economic growth brings opportunities and it brings headaches, says the Margaret O'Mara, the University of Washington professor who specializes in urban history. That was true in the 1840s Manchester. It was true in 1890s Pittsburgh, and it's true in Seattle in the 2010s. It's on both cities and the tech companies to figure out a way to handle these things. Amazon opened its headquarters in a previously sleepy warehouse district known as South Lake Union in 2010, forging what it says would have been a cheaper option for building in the suburbs where its workers might have been less connected to the city. Since then, it's expanded for its workforce for about 5,000 to more than 40,000 in 33 buildings here. It surpassed the universities and the city's biggest employer, and it's still growing apace. Even as it's 40,000 jobs is a lot of cake, people. A lot of people making money. City's employers, and it's still growing at pace. Even it announced its plans for the second headquarters location. The company said it would lease entirety of Seattle's second largest skyscraper, the still under construction Rainer Square Tower, which will have room for 3,500 workers. So the city has transformed a lot in Seattle. It's a really long article, people. So I know many people find the growth uncomfortable, but it's much better than being a Detroit or Cleveland where people are watching their cities waste away. So there's that grand side of things, and then there's the traffic is a big deal, people. Traffic is huge. People need to get around, and if people can't get around, People get frustrated. When people get frustrated, they don't get what they want, and when they don't get what they want, you get a lot of upset folk. You know what I'm saying? And let's move on here. Okay, people are posting. You could also use something called Blog Talk Radio. It allows you to set up a phone and accept calls for people to listen to your show and phone by calling your specific number. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Yeah, I think I'm going to try something like that. I'm going to give that a try. So let people call in and voice their opinions on what they think is happening with the housing crisis. This week's article, a lot of these week's articles, the bigger articles are facing homelessness, which is something obviously it's going to happen when you can't afford to live, and progress with huge tech giants moving in, you know. And this one was sent to me by Kevin Andres, and he watches my show from Northern California. Big fan. Thank you for taking the time to do this for us. No problem, buddy. Portland, this was sent by him, Kevin. Portland deprioritizes finding people for sleeping in RVs. Wow. Tiny homes on private property. So if you're on private property, you still can't. Wow. This is from today's date at 2:33 p.m. The city's Bureau of Development Services will be more lenient on allowing RVs or tiny homes on private property to have people sleep in them, according to the Commissioner Chloe. Okay, let's move on here. Portland code enforcement officers will shuffle to the bottom of the pile complaints while people are sleeping illegally in RVs or tiny homes on private property, Commissioner Chloe Eudaly announced Sunday. Her decision not to have the Bureau of Development Services, which she oversees, strictly enforce city code restrictions on the temporary and semi-permanent sleeping quarters is motivated by her concern for the city's residents who can't afford housing in Portland's tight market, she said. So Portland, Washington State, California, now Utah is being hit with this, and it's problematic because there's a lot of people that are homeless, and it's something that shouldn't be happening. It's something that we shouldn't be talking about on a regular basis, because this is something that should be addressed and fixed, right? So they're looking at this and saying that there's about 300 illegally parked RVs that have been towed off the city streets and public properties since November. And the new program has stepped up the enforcement and began. The program will continue. Anything that would be a danger to occupants of the RV, of the residents of the property, or neighbors, we need to preserve our ability to get those things off the street. Like, I mean, people, we're hearing stories again and again for people who were in tiny houses that were either worried or had been forced out because of compliance. So this is, you know, people need to understand that housing is a basic need, man. Housing is just like me wearing clothes. Housing is like me having to drink water every day. It's a need. It's not a want. It's a need. I need to sleep in a bed in a house, not I want to buy a Ferrari. There's needs and wants. I don't know if you guys remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You got needs and you got wants. You need shelter to protect you from nature. That's one of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Needs. Want, I want a fur coat. Want, I want a Ferrari. Want, I want to take an exclusive vacation. That's what you want. But if people need housing, there's got to be a way to provide it. And then this is Utah. This was sent to me from Utah. And Salt Lake City. Housing is exploding there in the state of Utah. Year after year, Utah has been slightly offset. And basically, the percentages are out of control there. I have a friend that actually messaged me from there telling me that a lot of investors are coming in and picking up properties there. Basically, he was telling me that the same pattern in Vancouver with empty homes, boarded up homes, investment homes are starting to show up in Utah. And it's becoming a problem. It's a visual problem. You can see it happening, just like he says, just like you said on your show 3 years ago with Vancouver, walking the streets. And Buddy was mentioning in the email, I remember you making those those videos walking the streets and empty blocks and stuff, and Utah is becoming like that now. A lot of investors, house bidding, people bidding on homes, investors coming in and buying. So I see it moving. This is my prediction for this. Okay, people are asking me how far inland is it going to go. It's already hit the coast. So you got Vancouver, all the way down to Seattle, Portland, and then you keep going further south to San Francisco. Then you go to LA County, Los Angeles. Then you go to San Diego, and then you're at the Tijuana border. Right from there to the top, it's unattainable for the typical American to buy. So you start migrating east. Those states like New Mexico, Nevada, Utah, Montana, you're going to start seeing those states go up in price within the next 2 to 8 months. And then for the next 1 to 3 years, it's going to be hitting the Atlantic side. Like New York is going to be, even though New York is expensive, but you're paying to live in New York, it's a very different lifestyle. But you're going to see New York start getting hit. You're going to start seeing places like North and South Carolina getting hit hard. Georgia, Florida getting hit real hard. If Florida thinks it's, they have it bad for a $300,000 or $280,000 house, wait another year and a half, 2 years when the investors move east. And housing, transportation prices propel consumer price index upward in September. This is an article from October 16, it was yesterday. And yeah, Utah's facing this, and people are asking, what are my predictions? And that's what I think is going to happen. The trend's going to start moving east, and basically people will just be bought out of the market, and yeah, I think things will get worse before they get better. So we're running on overtime here. Germany, property market rockets from safe haven to Ireland, grade crisis. Ireland, grade crisis. So this one goes into it too, where Germany's getting a lot of changes in the people living there. It's they're kind of putting it on the Euro crisis, which I think is not. In many ways, Germany's property boom is a result of the Euro crisis that jolted awake the market here. International investors came. That's the main problem right there. Like, Germany has to be really, really, really delicate on how it says things, because they don't want to, I don't know, it's just predicted share of Bundesrat seats, and that's the what's happening right now with the parliament. And Munich, average price of new apartments are almost twice of that in Berlin at 422,000 euros. That's like 400,000 US. Christ. That's a lot of money. No, 420,000 euros is about 418,000. It's about the same, right? That's pretty bad. So let's move on. Germany is getting hit with this problem. London house prices fall at fastest rate since 2009. This was posted 10 hours ago. This is a hot article right now. It's already been sent to me, I think. Let me double check here on this side. This article's been sent to me 4 times already since I've been live. London housing prices fall at fastest rate since 2009. I told you guys, look at this, 0% interest. They're trying to do, I don't know if you guys remember a video I did a few years back, how London's offering interest-only mortgages, where, interest-only mortgages. I think that's deadly, because one, you'll never own anything, and it's sad that you can't. Because once you own your place, you got the free money you got that extra free wiggle room to travel more. You got the free wiggle room to retire. You got the free wiggle room to do a lot of things in life. But if you're stuck to a mortgage till death, do you part? It's pretty tough, you know what I'm saying? And this is a really good article. So London house prices are falling at the fastest pace since the aftermath of the financial crisis, confirming the capital as the West worst performing part of the slowing market. Now, if you remember 3 weeks ago, I've been mentioning on 2 or 3 episodes how there's a massive migration of people, a mass exodus of London proper, leaving London and moving to other parts of England because they can't afford. And what's the point of living in a big city when you're just living, you're working to live, and you have no free time, no disposable income, and that's what's happening. See, outside of London, southeast England, the market appeared more buoyant, with prices on average rising in September more than 3% on the year, though the pace of growth has been slowing since 2016. So outside London, things are happening. Vibrant life, youth, families. In London, values fell for the 6th consecutive months. If provisional estimates are confirmed, the average price of a home in the capitals was less than £582,000, the lowest since the end of 2015. The fall will be welcome news to people struggling to get onto the housing ladder. After years of rocketing prices, the government announced an extension of its Help to Buy scheme. The Help to Buy scheme in London is the one they had the support in BC, Vancouver, to buy the loan, Help to Buy loan. They had it here in BC too, and that fired up the market for a bit because you got a lot more people buying, but then they don't pay interest. It's just so many hidden things. That's why they call it a scheme. Earlier this month, the downbeat picture was confirmed that the separate report from the Right Move, which said asking prices in London fell an annual 2.5% in October. So I wanted to bring this out to you guys. A really important article, because when London falls, watch out. But like I said, the mass exodus of millennials and young people, it's like, I was talking to my bank manager today. He's a nice guy. Calls me up and says, yeah, Mike, I heard you sold your company out in Vancouver. Good for you. Congratulations. We got to open a new account, because you have to by law. You have to, because you're doing business as something else. I'm like, okay, sure. Just do what you got to do for me. Send me the paperwork. I'll sign it. So he's like, how is it a merit? How is it a merit? You wouldn't believe it. Young families. I go to my son's play school to drop him off sometimes and say bye to him. Young families. You don't see that. Like young, beautiful, vibrant families. Everyone shaking hands and talking to each other. It's beautiful. And then I go pick them up, and all the families are there. Everyone's so happy, and just being out and about, watching all the young families, going to the park, barbecuing, going to church, going fishing. Families just doing things, young families, kids, children everywhere. It's beautiful. This is the Canada I grew up in when I was a child. It's the same Canada where you feel that sense of community, you know what I'm saying? And that's important to me, and that's important and crucial for me to raise my children. So he asked me, and I told him, he's like, I'm so jealous for you, man. He's like, I'm watching your videos, and I'm actually thinking of moving. He's looking to move to a small town like Cache Creek or Logan Lake. It's even smaller than Merritt. But he's looking for something like that. That's how down, he wants to work in a bank there. Even start from the bottom, even at a lower wage. I'm like, really? It's like, yeah, the stress is really hitting me hard here. I'm like, holy crap. People reach 50 when they're 20, if you catch my drift. Let's move on. UK interest rates to rise, likely inflation as it hits 3%. So interest rates will go up in England. Just wanted to let you guys know. It has to go up. Rates need to go up because they have to stimulate the economy somehow. Let's move on to Australia. Australia house prices surged. Listen to this. 6,556% since the 1960s. Holy max. If you bought a house in the 1960s, like a couple of houses, and you sold them today, holy max. You could buy a stadium or something, like something huge. Australian housing prices have surged by a massive 6,556% since the early 1960s. The average increase of 8.1% every year. That is so big. There's nothing that could give you 8.1 unless you're in some really volatile stock market, a really volatile sector in the stock market that's giving these mental earnings, you know, and giving you 8 to 10%, you know, like that's huge. Compared to other advanced economies in the past 5 decades, Australia had the 6th highest rise in annual property prices. Wow. It's beaten Spain, UK, New Zealand, Italy, and Ireland. The United States, in comparison, had 1,332% lifting house prices in the last 5 decades and an average of 6% per year. Whew. And this is Australia's longest upswing. Let's see what people say here. Stan says, I live in the ghetto. People are at each other's throats most of the time. Theft, home invasion down the street last month. It's fun. Well, sorry to hear that, bud. And then Mia says, hundreds of years ago, people left the country and went to cities for industrial revolution. In the future, this time period will be known as the Great Exodus from city to country to survive. Exactly. Thank you, Mia. That's what I did. I'm one of those. I'm one of those guys. I'm living proof, you know, that I'm here. I left the city. I had a great business in the downtown core. Had for 10 years. It's allowed me to basically live a beautiful, comfortable lifestyle. I took the risk. No one else did. I did my, you know, I did my thing. I did play the right cards. I never got into the whole drug scene and the drinking and all that. And I tried getting into the women's scene, like dating, and that didn't work in Vancouver. Like, wow. It's a long story. We'll talk about the dating. I get a lot of dating questions, people asking me dating and relationship questions. We'll do that another time. We'll do an open mic. You know what I'm saying? Just we'll do an open mic sometime. I know I'm promising to do an open mic for you guys. I will do it sometime. Maybe we'll start doing an open mic on Sundays or Mondays where we could just, people could call in and talk about housing and what's going on in their cities and how it's affecting them and blah, blah, blah. So Australia has had I'm going to go back to the article. Australia's had the longest upswing. Oh, yeah. Australia's been upswinging for like 20 years, 30 years. Let's move on. Sydney housing price growth set to cool. And they've been saying it's going to... Look at these auctions outside. They've been saying the housing prices were going to cool in the last, I don't know, 20 years in Australia. They say it's cool next year. Well, Melbourne prices will only lose a little of their momentum, new forecast shows. I don't know if you guys have been seeing what's happening in Perth, Australia. Holy smokes. The price of housing went down a huge percentage. But the Australian proper still can't buy in with it going down 30-40%. They still can't buy into the market. Sydney housing prices look set rise between 4 and 8% during 2018. That's what they're hoping, a 10.5% lift during the 12 months, September, SQM research said. But Melbourne housing prices will put another 7 to 12% after increasing 21%. That's so complicated, I don't even want to get into this. I just hope that, you know, people move out to the country and make something of it. And we got internet now, my guys. We got many ways to communicate. I could be in a meeting with a bunch of people in Berlin sitting right here and watching each other in some boardroom. I mean, you know, it's changed, okay? And if you could get out and network to small towns, do it. Bring your, how do you say it? Your, I don't know how to say it. Bring your skills out. Take it, go out. You know what I'm saying? This is from New Zealand, Otago Daily Times. And Thursday, the 19th of October, 2017, rising costs of housing outpace income gains. Again, same thing. The country's average annual household income gained more than 40 points in the past decade, but was still outpaced by rising housing costs. Statistics in New Zealand figures show. Since 2007, the annual the annual household income has increased 42% to 98,600, while the average annual housing cost has risen 51% to 16,000. In that time, the annual household income survey shows inflation, as measured by the Consumer Price Index, rose 20% over the decade, Stats New Zealand said. In the year ended in June 2017, average annual personnel income rose 7.7% to 51,000. So, Acting Reserve Bank Governor Grant Spencer kept the benchmark rate unchanged at 1.75%. But you guys have to understand what's happening in New Zealand too with the meth houses. Lots of houses need to get meth tests. A lot of homelessness. Luckily, it's summer now in New Zealand, springtime in New Zealand, so a lot of the people that are homeless are living in tents. Or I don't know if you remember the article I read, people in New Zealand, like 40 people to a house, living in a house. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people are commenting in the comment section there. $1,000 a month for a townhouse, that's super cheap. Save money and move up north and cash down on a house. Yeah, that's what I did. I kind of went east, away from the coast. Housing crisis to end in tears. It's from today's date. Bank of borrowing rather than building more homes may be the answer to Auckland's housing crisis, Auckland's property experts believe. So they're trying to remedy this in New Zealand because the New Zealand proper... so here's okay, I want to read this part to you. Here's a home truth. He says that the opinion published in the New Zealand Herald, you don't have to own a house to have a home. There are other ways of living the dream of having a secure, warm, healthy, and happy home, whether it is owned or rented as part of social housing association, community or cooperative, and government or local council. I want to know what you guys think of that. They're trying to massage people into believing, hey, you don't need to own anything. It's okay. You could rent for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? And they're throwing money out the window. You're not building equity because housing is supposed to, it's not, they're treating it as a commodity. You know? And that's become a big problem. And I want to leave you guys with this article to read. I've been here for an hour and 11 minutes. Wow, I got 22 people watching. Wow, thanks for watching, guys. How resilient is Canadian housing to the U.S.-style crash? Plunging oil prices. Here's the CMHC stress test result. This is huge, people. If you read the first part of it, the country's largest mortgages defaulter insurance, which backs almost $500 billion in loans, says the anti-globalization threat are increasing fear, so it has added those concerns to its ongoing stress tests, which I said at the beginning of the show. Canada's Mortgage and Housing Corp, which protects financial institutions in the case of consumer default, and is 100% backed by Ottawa. No, taxpayers. Ottawa, taxpayers. Said in a release Wednesday that it looked at anti-globalization, earthquakes, a steep oil price fall in the U.S.-style housing correction to see how its insurance portfolio would hold up. It did not look at a combination of any of those scenarios. So this is huge, guys. Read this article. It kind of tries to compare itself to the American crash back in 2007, 2008, if you guys remember that. But yeah, I just wanted to put this out there for you guys. I want to thank everyone that's picking up a lot of my voice clips and using them on their show. Talk radio shows from New Zealand and talk radio shows from Australia that are picking up a lot of my voice clips and using it, and I was surprised. I'm like, well, here, like the guy's talking. He's like, okay, listen to what he says about this. I talk. He goes, exactly. He's right on the money with that. Okay, then what about this? And then they bring that up. Yeah. So basically, they're looking at that. I'm like, holy smokes, really? So that's really good. And keep sending me your articles and stuff. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, please. Watch my series on my YouTube channel. I have a Building a Business from Scratch series. And then I have my other series, Building a Business from Scratch, Living the Dream, where I leave the city to move to a small town like this and cash down. And basically kind of strap myself in and lay roots. And the main thing about owning a house, and a lot of people forget, it's about laying roots. You know, you want your kids growing up to remember the house they grew up in and spent Thanksgiving in and Christmas in, and you know, you want them to remember that kind of stuff, you know? And to me, that was more important than me living in a city. And I can't handle the traffic. I can't handle the stress. I can't handle nothing. And living in the small town like I am now, I am grateful. I am grateful. I'm so happy. And I just wanted to make sure my children were taken care of. The reason why I didn't have children for the longest time was, one, nobody wanted to date me. And then two, was because I was afraid that I couldn't leave them or set something up for them to help them in life. And I was afraid I couldn't do that living in the city. So that changed my whole, you know, outlook on things. People are being held back nowadays from in life now because of this housing crisis. They're being held back from getting married. People are being held back from having children. People are being held back from starting a new career because they can't afford the city that's offering them the job. This housing thing is becoming a huge crisis because it's holding back everyone's lives. And like I said, this housing crisis is affecting every Canadian, every American, you know, every Londoner. Everyone's being affected by what's happening. And something needs to be done, you know. Like, I'm totally pro-government, and I want to fix this problem, you know what I'm saying? I'm pro-freedom of speech. I'm pro, you know, all those things, and I'm pro-everything, you know? Like, when people say, you're pro-everything, oh, are you pro-housing bill, are you pro-this? No, the things that are negative, obviously, I'm not for that, right? And it's not going against the establishment. It's not going against the news outlets. It's just brainstorming, analyzing, putting things together into proper perspective so people that are on this earth could live a proper and healthy life. And then, you know what I'm saying, right? And I just wish I was more educated so I could maybe explain myself a bit better. But anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think. Comment below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And thanks for watching, guys. And don't forget to get this out there. Message me on Instagram if you want to send me screenshots or messages. Okay, guys? Thank you. Have a good night. Hasta luego.